Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is episode 12 of Warring to Attitude. I am not only your host, but I am also still the reigning, defending AWI Pod pay-per-view prediction championship. Glenn's going to tell you that I won by a technicality, but fuck that, I still won anyway. I am Brent Biles, and of course, as I mentioned, my co-host is here with me. He is the Ballroom Brawl and Disco Dance and Dynamite Stretch and Intercontinental Playboy, folks. He's moreover than winning your pay-per-view championship on a technicality. It's GA Wrestling Nut Glenn Abbott. Glenn, how you doing?
Oh, great, thank you. Yes, it was a technicality. We're going to have to stop this idea that the champion retains on drawn results. It was a three-way tie, and nobody got the better of anybody.
And no, we didn't. We totally spaced the main event and didn't even pick that one.
But I think we've all gone the same way anyway. So
yeah, none of us were picking. And it's just the funny thing because in true form of this show, we would totally forget about what the main event of the show was, and not even mention it or make a pick on it.
I know, but there was so much more to look forward to.
It was a hell of a weekend.
It was an amazing weekend wrestling-wise.
It really was.
I've not even got around to watching any AEW yet.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't watch AEW. I don't know how that pay-per-view went off. I saw some bitching and moaning on the internet, but you can't really judge if a show is good or not by bitching and moaning on the internet because then no wrestling show would be good ever. So
there was people moaning about NXT as well. Battleground. Yeah, that was a 2.5 hour main event pay-per-view extravaganza. There was not one bad match in it.
And there was no gaga or bullshit. And like you said, it was a 2.5 hour pay-per-view. And so they threw all those matches on there within 4 hours. So what are you complaining about?
Yeah, so what are you actually moaning about?
I mean, I don't think I'm making much of a bold statement here, but I feel like the NXT show is better than the Night of Champions show.
Yeah, it was. It was different.
Yeah.
If you put the whole weekend together, it was like one and night two of WrestleMania. You couldn't. In fact, both of those shows were better than night two of WrestleMania.
I told you, Glenn, that's because pay-per-views are better outside the United States. We have proven that we don't deserve it. That they deserve to go to other places.
This is true.
And we don't deserve it because we can't have anything nice.
Are you trying to say that Massachusetts is outside the United States then?
Oh, I guess I'm sorry. The main roster stuff, I guess. But yeah.
Massachusetts
in the continental United States.
But again, how many years has it been since a New England crowd has got to see an NXT live event?
So I want to say this was still 3 or 4 years ago. They had one in Connecticut. Yeah. I think NXT TakeOver, the 30th one they had in Connecticut.
Yeah, but well before lockdown and all the rest of the nonsense.
Yeah, it was in 2018. I want to say 2018 or 19.
So it's no wonder that people are enthusiastic for this sort of thing.
Yeah, and you kind of had the hometown kid because I know that Mello's from the Massachusetts area, so you kind of get the hometown kid gets to defend his belt on the old pay-per-views, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that was a pretty damn good weekend of wrestling. I quite enjoyed it.
For some reason, Mello lost his head and only wanted to wrestle against one guy for a change.
That's because whatever sickness he had, Wesley caught it. Now he only can fight it. 3-way, 4-way, 5-way, 6-way matches. That was a really good match too. That triple threat match. It's refreshing to see. It's like maybe they listened to us bitching and moaning about how we don't want one guy taking a piss or getting a hot dog while two guys are fighting, because the last few triple threat matches I've seen, they've I mean, it still happens, but it hasn't been like the entirety of the match. You know what I mean?
No, the last two times it's happened, both times one of the guys has been knocked silly, either through a table or through the announce table or over a barrier or something, which makes it more legit if they've gone missing for 10 minutes because he's unconscious somewhere.
Right, it shouldn't do it. It shouldn't do him in to get body slammed. He shouldn't be gone for 10 minutes because he got body slammed.
No.
But anyway, Glenn, we're not here to talk about the current wrestling, the current product. We are here to talk about the 1997 product. And this time, Glenn, we're going all the way over to Berlin, Germany for the March 3rd edition of Monday Night Raw. Do you want to hear some of the dark matches that we didn't get to see on this show?
Oh, yes, please. Yes.
Okay, so we saw Salvatore Sincere. Remember Sal Sincere?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. He took on Alex Porto. Which do you remember Alex the Pug Porto?
No.
No, he was like So do you remember like there was like a time where they brought in like a group of jobbers, like they brought in like the Goon, and then there was like Mr. Goon, and he was like one of the jobbers that they brought in. He was like a traveling jobber. He was called Alex the Pug Porto. Also, we saw our good friends Doug Furness and Phil LaFawn, and they were not facing the British Bulldog and Owen Hart. As a matter of fact, they took on Aldo Montoya and Bob Holly, and then of course we didn't get to see Ahmed Johnson battle Leif Cassidy. Glenn, out of all those matches, which one do you really want to
see? I suppose Leif Cassidy against Ahmed Johnson wouldn't be too bad on a normal show, but
yeah, I didn't note the times for any of these, so I guess it might have helped to look at, because I feel like we've seen Leif Cassidy get some good matches out of people we probably didn't think could get a good match out of. So that's the one I looked at too.
You know that never went anywhere because he's guaranteed that the Nation of Domination would have come in and interfered somewhere along the line.
Yeah, well, they had to because they're the Nation of Domination. That's what they do.
And it's against Ahmed Johnson. So.
Right. I mean, they can't stop fucking with Ahmed Johnson everywhere he goes. No. They're with him. We start the show with Vince does this whole thing about talking about the Berlin Wall coming down in 1989, and then talks about Owen Hart and the Bulldog facing off tonight to crown the inaugural European champion for WWE. Glenn, out of all the people you thought were going to come out through the curtain first, what were the odds you thought was going to be the Honky Tonk Man?
With the way it's been going over the last few weeks, the odds were high. Especially knowing that good old JR wasn't there.
And I don't know why they think putting the Honky Tonk Man on commentary is a good idea. I just don't like. He's not good at it. I guess they're the same company that puts Booker T on now, so I don't know.
What made me laugh is that Vince decided that he had to remind everybody that the Cold War is over.
Yeah, even though it had been over for years, like 10 years. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that was interesting. I guess the Honky Tonk Man must be huge in Germany. I didn't know, but I guess maybe he is bigger than David Hasselhoff. No way. Glenn, do you own any David Hasselhoff albums?
I don't. I've only ever heard him sing that one song when the wall came down.
So, like, I've always heard that he was big over there, but, like, I don't think I've ever heard. The only thing I know him from is fucking Knight Rider and Baywatch. That's it.
Yeah.
That is all I know him for. They also... Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Oh, go. No, we'll get to it in a minute.
Okay. They also inform us that we're going to see Psycho Sid defend the WWF Championship against Mankind, and we're also going to get to see Rocky Maivia. I always want to call him The Rock, but he's not that yet. He's going to defend his Intercontinental Championship against Vader, which I think they also told us that Vader defeated Rocky in the first round of the European Championship tournament. Vader's got Rocky's number, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yes. Well, he would have, wouldn't he?
Yeah. I mean, you would think.
You know, I take my notes from this Scott's Blog of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot easier making them myself. I'll watch it. But there's a wonderful little bit he put on here. He said, make no mistake about it, there are two things the Germans love, and that's David Hasselhoff and Bret Hart.
The two native sons of Germany, Bret Hart and David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
So that's the first match we get to have a look at here. Hunter Hearst Helmsley taking on Bret the Hitman Hart. They also tell us that Hunter and Goldust will be facing off at WrestleMania as well, while Hunter's making his way down to the ring. We're going to look at a lot of side by sides in this show too. They really, really love the side by sides. We got an interview with Bret Hart before he gets out for the match. He says he hopes Steve Austin is watching because he's going to do exactly to Steve Austin what he does to Hunter tonight. So, very menacing.
Yes. Well, as it turned out, it was very prophetic as to what happened.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And then, I don't know. I think people were throwing Hitman Bears into the ring or something because Triple H booted a couple of stuffed bears back into the crowd.
Yeah, they were Hitman Bears. Now, if anybody's got one of those today, they must be worth a few, Bob.
I would like to have one of those right up there on my shelf, but I bet they are. I bet they are a pretty penny. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. Yeah, it's like I said, our drinking game for this week is going to be take a drink every time they do a split screen because you're going to see lots of split screen promos and fucking, to hype up something else that's going to be going on during the show. They did it a lot last week and they did it a whole fuck ton this week.
Yeah, see, just as Hunter and Bret are locked up, what they do, they go split screen and you see Steve Austin arriving at WWF studios in a very snowy Connecticut.
Right. They couldn't have just told us that. They couldn't have just said, "Hey, Stone Cold, shut up." I didn't need to have visual confirmation.
No.
It just didn't make any sense. Especially because these guys, most of the time when they were cutting to these, side by sides too, there was good action going on in the ring. So it just didn't make sense why you would cut at that point. Yeah.
I don't know, unless it was because it was pre-recorded that they were trying to make it look like it was live.
That could very well be, because especially right now with the whole Monday Night Wars thing, they're trying to make it seem as live as they can. So I guess I do get that, but at the same time, I think it hurts your show. Because
even back in 1997, wasn't any wrestling fans that stupid that they hadn't realised that this wasn't going on at 2:00 in the morning in Germany?
Right. I mean, unless you were 8, you should have known better. Yeah. Absolutely. A pretty physical match from these two. Like I said, Hunter's really working on Bret's arm. Hunter heads up to the top rope, but Bret stops him with a punch and then hits a superplex on Hunter, but he didn't go for the cover, which I thought would be strange, especially when you hear the excellence of execution. You think the execution thing would just go for a cover after that, but he didn't. Does anybody do a better Russian leg sweep than Bret Hart? Has anyone ever?
No. It's pure poetry, that leg sweep. And you think it's the ideal thing to do because to get the sharpshooter on, he needs his opponent on the mat.
Yeah. And it looks like it hurts like hell. But as we know, Bret Hart, I don't think has ever hurt anybody. So I don't think he ever hurt anyone. So, yeah, but I wanted to ask you that because you've seen a lot more years of wrestling than I have. And if you agree with me, then yeah, he's got the best wrestling.
Yeah, no, it's as good as I've seen. And you notice that during I know they don't actually show. I don't know if they show Peacock, but they don't show them on the network where we have the ad breaks. They come back from the break.
Oh yeah, they do. It's like a cut screen. Yeah,
and you have Vince tell the assembled audience that nothing has changed, nothing has happened in that time.
They all stood and stared at each other.
Yeah.
We got to signal to him in the ring and said, "Hey, pal, we're at a commercial. Just don't move. We don't want the fans at home to miss anything."
Now you think, how many years have they had adverts in the middle of matches before they went split screen? And once, as a match ended during the ads.
Right. That's a really good point. You would think at least once they should just throw one in there just to keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
like the whole maybe a title change at a house show every now and then, just so that people will think that it could maybe happen. You know what I mean? We'll just have the match end during the break, and then people will think it like it's happened. Yeah. So Brent basically he starts stomping Triple H in the corner. The referee tries to get him off of Brett, kind of get Brett off him, but then Brett shoves the referee, which gets him DQ'd. And then we got a special guest, didn't we, Glenn?
Yes. Because Hunter can't fight his own battles, China comes into the ring.
Yeah. She's pretty much challenging Bret Hart to a fight here.
Yeah.
So Brett's kind of backing off because I'm sure Brett's not sure what to do here. And then finally a whole bunch of officials hit the ring.
Yeah, Jerry Briscoe and all the cronies all hit the ring.
He told China, "Look, if I wanted to hook you, you'd be hooked," is what he told her.
Yeah.
But they actually show Hunter and this woman leaving together, so they actually do show that they are in fact a unit at this point, because they were kind of going, well, I don't know if she's with him or if she's not, but they in fact did leave together. So this woman is with Triple H for sure.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So hopefully in the next few weeks we'll actually find out who she is, although we know who she is, but
right. Well, we're gonna pretend like we don't know.
Yeah.
And then to run with the theme of if we've got to know if Steve Austin is at the studios in Connecticut or not, they show an empty chair where Steve Austin is supposed to be, and you hear toilet flushing, so he must have been taking care of business.
That's Vince trying to be funny again.
God damn, how I love toilet humor. Get the toilet flushing in there so it looks like he's taking a crap. God damn it. Put it on, horse teeth. I don't want to hear about it. That's Kevin. Sorry. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I'm actually not sorry. Most of the time when I say sorry, I'm not sorry. The next match is an Intercontinental Championship match. It is Vader taking on the Intercontinental Champion, young pineapple-haired looking motherfucker, Rocky Maivia. This is the first of 3 title matches tonight, Glenn.
Yes. Yeah, they pushed the boat out for this one, didn't they?
They did. They really did.
But yeah, I suppose it's sensible, as you're on a different continent, to be defending the Intercontinental Championship.
It makes a lot of fucking sense, doesn't it, Glenn? Almost writes itself. Vader takes control early by showing young Rocky Maivia that when you get in the ring with Vader, sometimes it hurts. Because he landed some stiff shots in the corner. He even squashed Rocky by sitting on his chest. And not the good kind of sitting on your chest either. The Vader crushing your ribs kind. Rocky does manage to hit Vader with a suplex, which was pretty fucking impressive.
I didn't realize that fatal 4-way was whoever bled first got a chance at the Intercontinental Championship. I knew the winner was going to be the champion, but didn't realize that the first bleeder was going to be the number 1 contender for the IC title.
They didn't tell the Undertaker, Bret Hart, Steve Austin, or Vader either, so imagine that's a surprise.
Vader did do a lot of bleeding, so he deserved his shot.
Yeah, I mean, he bled more than the Sandman after he hit himself in the head in the beer can last week on Raw.
Yes.
And he bled a lot. We'll talk more about ECW coming up later in this show as well. Vader even hit a splash from the middle rope, but only got a 2 count. He then put in a knee lock. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Vader locked in a knee lock on Rocky Maivia. I don't think I ever seen Vader use a hold in my life.
No, I never. The nearest he gets to a hold is smashing his arms aside of people's heads.
Right. Like, yeah, that's the closest thing he does to submission, is trying to cement your brain with his fists.
Yeah.
So usually we see kind of mixed reactions for Rocky Maivia, but not with these German folks. These German folks love this kid. They were going crazy for him.
Yep. Well, it's that thing, you know. He's the baby face against the heel. You cheer the baby face, you boo the heel. It's something that the Americans even forgot back then.
This is around the time when we started to forget, and now that's why people are like, oh, they don't build good heels. Well, because you motherfuckers cheer for all of them. MJF comes out here and calls you all stupid, inbred fucking morons, and you cheer him. That's why.
Well, it started with Austin, didn't it? Really?
Yeah, it did. It really did. You're right. That's true.
Austin could have called every single one of their mothers a whore, and they would have all cheered her after for him.
You know what, Austin? You're right. She is a whore. That's exactly how I want to win. So I guess that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, The Rock was doing some pretty cool moves. He's like hitting slams on Vader and shit, which to slam a big guy like Vader, anybody's going to be impressed by that. And then once again, in the sake of weird fucking finishes, Vader and Rocky are brawling on the outside, and then Mankind shows up out of nowhere and just hits Rocky with the urn.
Before that bit is, I love the bit where Rocky had the audacity to schoolboy Vader, and the look on Vader's face, it just made him more annoyed.
It's probably when he punched
him. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. I'm not the guy for that, buddy. Yes, so they fight on the outside. Mankind shows up, hits Rocky with the urn, which DQs Vader. Vader looks to be not very happy with Mankind, but instead of beating up Mankind, he then instead beats up Rocky some more. So the Rock retains by disqualification and gets his ass whooped for his troubles.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
I long for the day where we actually get a clean finish in any of these shows.
Yeah, I don't know, Glenn. I don't. Maybe WrestleMania 13. Maybe WrestleMania 13. We didn't got a recap of everything that happened with ECW Raw last week, and they showed the Sandman. They actually showed the Devon Tommy Dreamer match, and every weapon that they used. They blurred out the weapon and blurred out him hitting him with the weapon, and I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I know. We'd have seen it all, and yet they didn't blur out the chair shot.
Yeah, I don't know.
The chair shot to the head, they didn't blur that out.
A chair isn't a foreign object, I guess. I don't know. Everything else on. And then Sandman comes out there, and because he's bleeding everywhere, they basically blurred out his entire body. So he just looks like a blob moving through the ring. It's so weird.
Oh dear, it was.
Yeah, very weird stuff. So then we got the Sultan taking on Flash Funk in the Battle of Strange 1997 gimmicks. We also had a phone interview with Jerry the King Lawler, and it sounds like ECW will be at Raw next week as well. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah. He says this here. Paulie Dangerously also found the number for tonight's show, which he presumably called Collect because it's in Germany.
Of course he called Collect. Yeah, no. Yeah, do it. Yeah, so basically we got two phone calls during this match. The one with Jerry Lawler and the one with Paulie. There wasn't a whole lot to note from this match. The Sultan won via camel clutch because we didn't get to see much of it because it was more about the shit
what was going on
and Paulie Dangerously. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot to even go over in this match. I thought it was probably the worst match of the show, but it didn't have to be. It had the potential to be a good match. I mean, both these guys know how to work. If you didn't know, the Sultan went to being Rikishi or Fatu. So both these guys can wrestle, and I don't know. It was just there was nothing there.
No. I think we've got a promo coming up, haven't we?
We do, because they show Austin tearing apart the WWF studios from last October, and I'm not sure why I needed to know that, but just they needed to show us, I guess, Glenn. And then Glenn, it is time to hear from our old pal, Psycho Sid. Here we go.
The game we play is simple. 2 men enter and 1 man survives. In this game we play, I am the master. And you have to find out the hard way, because tonight you will become another symbol of one of my many victories to WrestleMania. To you, Undertaker, to the dark side. To the dark side I go, and you will become another symbol at the wayside of my victories. Because I am the man, I am the master, and I am the ruler of the world.
I am the man. I am the ruler.
All that's the gritted teeth too. I mean, he's got to have jaw problems to this day. He's got to from all the clenched teeth that he did. After we're done with this, Glenn, we're gonna have to start reviewing 2000 WCW so we can hear more Psycho Sid promos.
Oh yes,
because they're so good.
We'll have to ask the guys if we saw when we get Rob on. We'll have to ask him if he minds us sort of nicking their idea a little bit. Instead of the Tanker tour, we'll have a Sid special.
Oh, that's we'll talk to Rob because we'll have to do that. That'd be great. I like that. That's a great idea. Because I've tried to stomach some 2000 WCW, and it's bad. It's not even like funny bad. It's just bad.
It's bad. I know you've inflicted some of it on me on air as well.
Yeah, I watched an episode of WCW Nitro from 2000, and literally there was like 17 minutes of wrestling and an hour and 40 minutes of promos. I'm not even fucking kidding. It was bad.
That's what always used to annoy me. From there, then obviously went to TNT. And they did exactly the same thing. They called it Total Non-Stop Total TNA, rather. They called it Total Non-Stop Action. But all they did was talk. We got about 20 minutes of wrestling and they talked the whole time.
It should be called Totally No Action.
Totally no action, yeah.
We'll just start a wrestling promotion called Totally No Action, and we're just going to promos. That'd be great. Speaking of great promos, Ahmed Johnson comes out because the German fans need to hear from Ahmed Johnson of all people. And he is going to he got a challenge from Farouk to a Chicago street fight at WrestleMania, and he says yes, but he's not coming alone, not this time.
You would have thought he'd put a trackie on or something, no? He's out there in his wrestling gear. We're not to, as the viewing audience from afar, we are not to know that he had a dark match.
Right.
That's why he's still in his wrestling gear.
I just assume that's how Ahmed Johnson boards the bus. He flies the plane, goes to the supermarket. He just wears fucking thigh pads on his knees, his elbows, and his ankles. That's just what I thought he did. It's the strangest looks, especially in Germany. They were like, the dominatrix thing is that way. In German, of course. He then leads a "You're going down, you're going down" chant, which, wow. So, Ahmed Johnson. The only person that cuts a better promo than Ahmed Johnson is Psycho Sid, for comedy purposes, anyway. They did like a really cool promo video for WrestleMania, and because I thought it was really cool, I want to play some of it. Not the whole, not the video, but just the audio.
Yeah.
Because if I play the video, they'll copyright me.
It's the biggest pay-per-view spectacular of the year. WrestleMania.
Do yourself a favor and stay at home.
The reigning champion is indeed the man. But this phenom from the dark side will go to great depths to possess the powers of the gold.
Won't survive.
WrestleMania. This leader and his disciples have mastered the art of domination. But in the brutal, unforgiving Chicago street fight, this one-man gang plans to dismember an entire nation.
Prepare to be dominated.
WrestleMania. This angry hitman has a score to settle, but his target's a renowned stone-cold killer as well.
Somebody's gonna get their ass whipped.
Action, adventure, danger. There's only one WrestleMania, and it only happens once a year. Presented live March 23rd by PlayStation.
I know you got a comment you want to make about the Nation of Domination.
Yes. Again, I go back to the thing. They're not dominating anything. All they do is get disqualified every week.
I could see it in your eyes, Glenn, when they said they've mastered dominating. Glenn's like, the fuck they have.
Yeah. Just get. They've not even killed a referee for disqualifying them.
That's a good point, because most heel groups would have beat up a ref by now.
Pussycats. Considering they're supposed to be this big, beefy faction, and all that's happened is Ahmed Johnson's put several members of their faction through a table, and the two main men, Farouk and Crush, have run away from him a lot.
Right. And there's 20 of them, and they still haven't beat him up. They remind us about LOD returning last week, where they wrestled the Headbangers to a double countout. I noticed that they didn't mention that the match they had was a double countout. They didn't say that. They never said they won, lost, that, there, or the other. They just said, "Oh, they came back. We don't know what happened after that." They then showed them cut a strange promo from Shotgun Saturday Night, and I don't know what the fuck they were talking about. I was so confused.
Pass.
I was so confused. They made a few references to the street and how they're billed from Chicago. Everybody knows they're not from Chicago. They're from Minnesota. So I think they're kind of hinting that, of course, they're going to be involved in the Chicago street fight with Ahmed Johnson. Because I think, didn't they come out and help Ahmed?
Yeah. Well, he said that he's not going to come alone.
Yeah, that too.
In his promo from last week.
Fuck, last week Glenn, that was in this fucking show we just talked about. We forgot. Oops. The next match was one I was really looking forward to when I saw that it was gonna take place. Mankind is battling Sid for the WWF Championship. These guys waste no time beating the shit out of each other as soon as Sid gets into the ring.
I love that Mick Foley does the promo in German.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking cool.
How good is that? And in character, it was superb. Well done, Mick.
He probably knows how to say, "Hey, grab my fucking ear" in German for sure.
Yeah.
I read a story in his book about that. About he took the ear with him, like with some ice to the hospital.
Yeah.
And the lady, he is trying to ask him if they can put his ear back together, and the lady said something to him in German and said she said stinky, and he just threw his ear into the trash.
Yeah.
Just tossed it in the trash, and that was it. His ear was gone. That was hilarious. So even the WWF title match isn't important enough to not have a side-by-side or a phone interview, because during this we finally find out that they found Stone Cold Steve Austin, and all he does is run down Bret Hart, and then we find out that we'll hear more from Steve Austin later.
Steve Austin.
Doesn't matter. Oh, did you freeze again? No, I believe Glenn done froze again. And he's back.
I am going full Karen mode on bloody BT technical tomorrow.
Uh-oh. That'd be a fun promo to see. You got any notes from this Mankind Sid match?
It was really a nothing match, and then they stick Steve Austin in the middle of it.
Yeah. Like I said, I was really looking forward to this one. I think when I saw that it was on there, I messaged you and was like, "Oh man, that should be really, really good." And it had like a couple of good things, like Sid smashed Mankind's head into the ring post. He had the back dropped him on the floor, and then Paul Bearer tries to get up the apron to distract Sid, but Sid grabs him by the neck. Mankind tries to like hit him from behind, but Sid moves, of course, and knocks Bearer off the apron. And eventually, Mankind goes for a back body drop, but Sid counters it and blocks with the and he hits him with the power bomb 1, 2, 3. And it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. And like you said, they stuck Steve Austin in the middle of it, so they made the match seem like it didn't even matter, even though it was a WWF Championship match.
They mixed Mankind taking a huge power bomb from Sid. So if you try and drive me through the ring, and Sid will always oblige with that one.
Yeah, Sid's got no problem with that. Yeah, absolutely not. And then they show us a match between the Bulldog and Crush from Shotgun Saturday Night. Highlights of it where Savio Vega interferes and Bulldog loses to Crush. And then a very angry Bulldog calls out Clarence Mason, asks him whose side he's on. He then fires Clarence Mason. So Clarence Mason is no longer going to be representing the Bulldog at all. So that was interesting. Did you even remember that they were even affiliated? Because I sure didn't.
No, I didn't either. Because when we've come into it, they've sort of been split apart because he's been with the Nation, hasn't he?
Yeah, so I remember him coming in so he was with Bulldog and Diana. They did that weird storyline in '96 where Shawn Michaels was the champion, and he apparently tried to get handsy with Diana or something, and like Clarence Mason was their attorney, but I just didn't remember him being their manager at any time. I remember Cornette, but I didn't remember Clarence Mason, but he's no longer their manager now. And finally, Glenn, after much anticipation, we are going to hear from Stone Cold Steve Austin after we've been reminded.
But first, Vince reminds us to tune in to La Femlequita.
Oh, you're right, Glenn. Make sure if you live in 1997 that you do not touch that dial and check out La Femlequita. Apparently, she's very hot.
Coming after the show.
That's right. It's much better than Robin Hood, correct?
Yeah, apparently so.
All right, let's hear from Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Bret Hart runs around talking about everybody screwing him. Hell, for the past 7 years, I've been screwed, and it's the same old song. How come when Shawn Michaels hurts his knee, you make a video out of him? How come when Shawn Michaels gets sick, you tell the world that he's got the flu? Well, when I went to the Final Four, I was sick as a dog, and I had a blowed-out knee. Let me ask you a question. How many one-legged people could go 25 minutes with 3 of the top wrestlers in the world? None. Stone Cold Steve Austin went out there and did just that. And I ain't making fun of no one-legged people. I'm sitting here just trying to make a point. As far as I'm concerned, I truly am the World Wrestling Federation champion, and can't nobody tell me different. Not you or anybody. As far as a submission match, it's a bunch of bull. Bret Hart, he's supposed to be the big technician, the sharpshooter. Big deal. I don't know a couple of submission moves, but it doesn't matter because I'll beat the hell out of Bret Hart. There ain't nobody in wrestling who can make me quit. And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
Stone Cold said so.
My favorite thing in all that is he kissed my ass, kiss my ass this, kiss my ass that, but he wanted to make sure that he wasn't trying to offend one-legged people.
PC Stone Cold.
Somebody told him to. Come on, pal. Now it sounds like you're making fun of one-legged people. Make sure you clarify that you're not making fun of one-legged people.
One-legged people
right now. You understand me?
Yeah.
I thought that was great. Really great.
Leave that to Vince further down the line.
She was that Gowan. Anyway, always delightful to hear a Stone Cold promo in 1997. So good. Such good stuff.
Talking of good stuff.
Yeah, speaking of good stuff.
Yeah, we've got Owen, Hart, and the Bulldog next.
The European title is on the line. These two, respectively, the Bulldog defeated Mankind and Vader on his road to the finals, and Owen Hart defeated Flash Funk and his own brother, Bret the Hitman Hart. And I don't think these matches are out anywhere that you can view them, but I would love to see the Bret Hart Owen Hart semifinal match. I bet it was fucking great.
That's if it actually happened.
Well, I think they had this whole thing in Germany, so I'm pretty sure it had to have happened. It might not have. You're right, Glenn. They could all be bullshit.
Yeah. Like the original Intercontinental Championship.
Oh, you mean, wait a minute. You telling me Pat Patterson didn't win a tournament in Rio de Janeiro?
It's a bit suspicious anyway.
Glenn doesn't know it wasn't there. I think they did it just as a rib to make fucking Pat Patterson say Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, probably.
Pretty sure that's why they did it. So, I mean, this was a really, really good wrestling match. The opening, the minutes of this match, Glenn, I don't know if you saw it, but the opening minutes of this match felt a lot like a Heritage Cup rules match, didn't it?
It did. Yeah. Lots of lockups, wrist locks, arm bars, shoulder, hip tosses, and that sort of thing. Good technical wrestling.
Some very good technical wrestling. Owen Hart did like some stuff that I'm sure he did like a lot more when he was younger in Japan, but he like got up on the top rope and then like dropped down to his ass and then flipped back into the ring. And like he didn't do a whole lot of that in WWE. He was more like he more did like that with him when he was the Blue Blazer. You know what I mean? So I thought that was fun to see because I've seen him wrestle in some of those old New Japan matches, and he was fucking like everything that you see a luchador or those guys do now. He was doing that shit then.
That's right. And it was a good bit of storytelling. The fact that they knew each other so well, they were both countering everything the other one did.
Yep.
And it ended in a handshake.
That's right. There was a lot of cool moments in this match, like the Bulldog locked in like a surfboard submission, and Owen kind of like grabbed the referee's shirt and used like the momentum of the referee to get himself out of it. And I just don't think I've ever seen anybody get out of it like that.
No.
So it was really cool. And then Owen Hart does because it was like a pretty respectful match at the beginning. Like they were shaking hands when they came off of breaks, but then Owen like faked a knee injury to catch Bulldog off guard and kind of like started kicking the Bulldog in the knee. And then the respectfulness went out the window at that point. It became just a fight. Yeah, really good match. I love that we went to a commercial break and then we had a WWF rewind in which they showed us something that happened 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, of course. You have to. Even today, they cannot help themselves but do that.
Yeah.
You come back from a break and they're showing you something that happened not 10 minutes before.
Yeah, like Cody Rhodes gets beat up by Brock Lesnar in the opening segment, and then they go to a commercial, they come back and they show me the exact same thing that just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hart goes for the pin, but Bulldog's got his foot on the ropes, so he only gets a 2 count. Owen Hart goes for a superplex, but Bulldog does a really good counter and kind of just falls on top of Owen, which also leads to a 2 count. Owen tries to lock in a sharpshooter, but Bulldog makes it to the ropes. Owen goes for a pile driver. Bulldog counters it into the power slam, but Owen somehow kicks out of that, that's not something that you saw a lot of in 1997 where people kicked out of finishers. That just didn't happen. So I was shocked to see this even myself. And then the finish comes and Owen goes for a jackknife cover, but he only gets a 2 count when Bulldog then counters with the pin combination of his own. He does get the 3 and becomes the first ever European champion. The 2 men do shake hands as the show goes off the air. So maybe they buried the hatchet. Maybe.
Maybe, but maybe not. I doubt it too. All
right. They also tell us that next week it's going to be Raw is War. So I think this week we're going to get like a whole new setup and a whole new look to Monday Night Raw. So that's something to look forward to. Yeah, moving even closer towards Attitude. That's why we call this show Warring to Attitude, if you didn't already know. Because it starts up there, it becomes Raw is War. It's the Attitude. That's right, and it's going to start next week, so I'm pretty fucking excited for that to see where this thing goes. And we are on the road to WrestleMania. Good. And if my memory serves me correctly, this is where they start ramping up the sniping at WCW as well. Yeah, I think you're right. So I knew they did the Billionaire Ted skits in like 1996. Yeah. Now I think this is really where they start doing. Yeah. Yeah, they're really going to start kicking into the more edgy stuff coming up about now. So it's going to start to get really good. I mean, it's been good for a couple of weeks, but like this show wasn't great, and the week before wasn't great either. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next week when Raw is War. And we are on the road to WrestleMania, and as we've spoken, I think during this thing, UTT Rob from Unbooking the Territory is going to be joining us to review WrestleMania 13. So that should be a lot of fun. Glenn, what else do you need to plug before we get out of here?
Oh, hang on. I've got my crib sheet. I've got my crib sheet this week.
Smart.
Yeah, we've got Rob and Danny. I'm booking the Takeatory and also Gator Golf they're doing. The YB's Gator Golf. Being nearly doing their Gator Golf tournament. Bang Bang podcast with Andy. DDT Wrestling DC and Doc, give them a listen. And talking to Danny, him aside, they do a great job of the Doctor Who podcast. If you're a fan of Doctor Who, give them a listen because their reviews are really unbiased, and it's good listening to somebody who's a fan of the old Who and a fan, and somebody else that's a fan of the new Who, and they're watching each other's sort of what they've been brought up for the first time, and it's really interesting to listen to their views on it. And I will be on then in their next series, I think, which is going to be series 5. As I said to them, I'll be the first one that they've had on whose first Doctor was actually William Hartnell.
Yeah, you'll be the first one. Yeah.
So,
that's a cool concept too. It's kind of like if you took a person who only watched wrestling in the 70s and the 80s and had them watch wrestling from today, and you took someone who'd only watched wrestling today and had them watch it from the 70s and the 80s. It'd be an interesting thing to talk about.
I seem to remember that somebody not a million miles away took a young lad once and started a show called A Work in Progress who were watching.
That's a good point.
Wrestling for the first time.
That's a genius idea, Glenn. Who could ever come up with such a genius idea? That's funny. Fuck, I didn't mean to put myself over there. I fucking swear to God I didn't. I swear to God.
Anyway, with that. On that note.
Make sure you check out Sports Wire Radio and you give our buddy Thomas Price a follow at Thomas Price 2017 on Twitter. I think on Instagram it's Thomas Price 2020. So make sure you give him a follow. Check out Sports Wire Radio. And of course, always give our buddy, our other co-host, the 1/3 of this podcast team, our Mayor of Canton, a follow on Twitter at Mayor of Canton. He does a meal with the mayor every Wednesday or Thursday. It depends. Sometimes the mayor thinks Wednesday's Thursday. Sometimes he thinks Thursday's Tuesday. It's just the way it goes when you're super busy.
He's just moved into the new mansion house. What do you expect?
Mayor Manor? I don't think that's what he's calling it. What do you?
No, we decided on Friday he was going to call it the mansion house because that is where the Lord Mayor of London lives as well. In the mansion house.
Yeah. Right, I was a whole different person on Friday, Glenn. I don't know. I don't know.
You've been out mingling with people since then. It's not done you any good.
And it hurt, Glenn. It hurt so bad. I had to come home and drink an entire bottle of tequila after I was. That's a shoot. I did not make that up. I had 3 people helping me. We did drink an entire bottle of tequila. But I did learn, Glenn, that I can drink a lot of tequila and feel fine the next day. But if I drink a beer or 2 beers, I'm going to be fucking have the worst headache ever. So.
Oh, well.
That's what happens when you turn 39. Anyway, that's going to do it from us. We are going to get out of here as soon as Glenn says goodbye.
Goodbye.